The breaking point. The final straw. Captain Sarah Chen walked through the gleaming corridors of Nexus Station, her boots clicking against the polished metal floor. The massive space station orbited the neutral world of Kepler 442 bits, serving as the galaxy's primary hub for diplomatic and trade negotiations. Sarah had made this walk dozens of times over the past 5 years, but today felt different. Today, she carried a sealed message from Earth Command that would change everything. The Galactic Trade Council chamber was a marvel of engineering, built to accommodate dozens of different alien species. The air recyclers worked overtime to provide breathing mixtures suitable for beings ranging from the methane-breathing Vorthak to the high-oxygen-dependent crystalline collective. Sarah took her usual seat at the small human section, dwarfed by the massive chairs designed for the towering hegemony representatives and the floating platforms of the energy-based Luminar. Council Prime Zarthol, a 12-foot-tall insectoid from the Chitinous Empire, called the session to order. His mandibles clicked rhythmically as he spoke through the universal translator. Today we address the matter of the illegal human occupation of Haven Prime. The Territorial Commission has reached its decision. Sarah's jaw tightened. Haven Prime was humanity's newest colony world, established 15 years ago after decades of careful terraforming. 2 million humans now called it home, having transformed the barren rock into a thriving agricultural world that fed half a dozen star systems. The planet had been empty when humans found it, with no signs of previous habitation. Councillor Vex Harry of the Serpentine Collective slithered forward on her coils. The humans must withdraw from Haven Prime immediately. Our archaeological surveys have determined that the planet once belonged to the extinct Rothmeri civilization. As the Serpentine Collective shares genetic markers with the Rothmeri, we inherit their territorial claims. Sarah stood up slowly. With respect, Counselor, your archaeological surveys found nothing but some scattered mineral deposits that could have come from anywhere. We've been on Haven Prime for 15 years. We've built cities, established ecosystems, created a functioning society. 2 million humans call it home. High Chancellor Morgith of the Hegemony, whose species resembled metallic centipedes the size of buses, spoke in his booming voice. Human emotional attachment does not supersede legal territorial rights. The Council has voted. Humans will evacuate Haven Prime within 6 standard months or face economic sanctions. The familiar rage bubbled up in Sarah's chest. This was how it always went. The aliens made their decisions in closed sessions, presented them as fait accompli, and expected humans to comply without question. For decades, humanity had bent over backward to maintain galactic relations, giving ground whenever conflicts arose, accepting unfavorable trade deals, allowing aliens to dictate terms. Sarah had watched previous human representatives nod and agree, promised to bring the demands back to Earth for consideration. She had seen humanity's colonies given away, their trade routes restricted, their scientific discoveries claimed by alien civilizations, always in the name of maintaining peace and cooperation. But today, Sarah reached into her jacket and pulled out the sealed envelope from Earth Command. The message inside was short and clear. Enough. The unexpected response. The United Human Colonies reject this decision, Sarah announced, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. The translator system struggled to keep up as multiple species began chattering at once in surprise. Zarthol's compound eyes fixed on her. Humans do not have the authority to reject council decisions. You will comply or face consequences. Sarah broke the seal on her envelope and removed a single sheet of paper. I have here the official response from Earth Command and the Colonial Administration. She stood and began reading. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all participation in the Galactic Trade Council and associated organizations. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens screeched, chittered, and hummed in dozens of different frequencies. Sarah waited for the noise to die down before continuing. Furthermore, all human personnel are hereby ordered to evacuate from alien territories within 72 hours. All human-operated facilities in non-human space will be shut down and abandoned. All trade agreements between humanity and alien civilizations are terminated. High Chancellor Morgeth reared up on his hindmost segments. Humans cannot survive without galactic trade networks. You are bluffing. Sarah folded the paper and placed it back in the envelope. We're about to find out. This session is concluded. She turned and walked toward the exit. Wait, Counselor Vexari called out. Surely we can negotiate. Perhaps the Haven Prime situation could be revisited. Sarah paused at the chamber entrance and looked back at the panicked alien faces. You should have thought about negotiation before you decided to steal our colony. Humanity is done being pushed around. As she left the chamber, Sarah could hear the chaos erupting behind her. For the first time in years, she smiled. The Great Evacuation. Within hours of Sarah's announcement, emergency broadcasts went out across the galaxy. Every human station, facility, and outpost received the same message. Operation Homecoming was in effect. All human personnel were to abandon their posts and return to human space immediately. On Crystalline Station, Dr. Marcus Webb finished shutting down the quantum resonance laboratory he had run for 8 years. His research into faster-than-light communication had revolutionized galactic communications, but the Crystalline Collective had always treated him as a useful pet rather than a partner. His alien colleagues pleaded with him to stay, but Marcus sealed the lab's quantum cores with human-specific biolocks and walked away. At the massive hegemony shipyards above Cronus Ia, Chief Engineer Rosa Martinez supervised the evacuation of 3,000 human workers. For 12 years, humans had designed and built the most advanced starships in the galaxy. The aliens had the materials and the manufacturing capacity, but they lacked the innovative thinking and problem-solving skills that made human engineers indispensable. As the last human transport departed, Rosa activated a virus that corrupted all the engineering databases, leaving the aliens with half-finished ships and no blueprints to complete them. On agricultural worlds throughout the galaxy, human farmers and terraforming specialists abandoned their posts. The Vorthak had hired humans to transform methane-rich worlds into breadbaskets that could feed multiple species. The process required an intricate understanding of atmospheric chemistry, soil composition, and ecosystem management that humans had perfected over centuries of terraforming their own colonies. Without human expertise, the alien attempts at agriculture would fail within months. The Luminar Collective watched in growing panic as human technicians evacuated their energy research facilities. The humans had been working to solve the Luminar's power storage problems, developing new technologies that could stabilize energy beings in physical forms. Without human innovation, the Luminar faced the prospect of slowly dissipating back into pure energy. First signs of panic. As the 72-hour deadline approached, alien governments across the galaxy began to realize the scope of what was happening. Emergency sessions were called on a dozen worlds as the implications became clear. On the Serpentine homeworld, Trade Minister Silthra reviewed the economic projections with growing horror. 47% of our interstellar cargo is carried on human vessels, she hissed to her assistants. Their shipping networks connect every major trade route in the galaxy. Without them, goods cannot move. The Chitinous Empire's military leaders gathered in their war chamber, clicking mandibles in distress. General Clickstar studied the tactical reports with his compound eyes. Our fleet maintenance depends entirely on human technical expertise. They understand our ship systems better than we do. Without them, our vessels will begin failing within weeks. High Chancellor Morgeth paced in his private chambers, his metallic segments scraping against the floor. He had built his political career on the assumption that humans were weak and dependent on alien protection. The hegemony's entire economy was built on human labor and innovation. Without them, his civilization faced collapse. But the aliens still believed this was a negotiating tactic. Surely, the humans would come to their senses once they realized the economic consequences. Surely they would return to the bargaining table, chastened and ready to accept whatever terms were offered. They were wrong. The point of no return. As the deadline expired, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. The humans actually followed through. Every human facility went dark. Every human ship departed alien space. Every human voice fell silent on the communication networks. For the first time in over 2 centuries, humanity was alone. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the human dreadnought Terra's Pride, watching the last evacuation transports dock with the fleet. Behind them, Nexus Station grew smaller in the distance, its alien occupants no doubt scrambling to figure out how to maintain the complex systems that humans have been quietly managing for decades. Admiral James Harrison, commander of the evacuation fleet, joined her at the viewing port. All personnel accounted for, Captain. We're ready to jump to. Silneth's gaseous form contracted with despair. The Vorthak had voted to support the Haven Prime resolution, seeing it as a simple matter of territorial law. They had never imagined that their medical system would collapse as a consequence. The crystalline collective's dimming light. Deep within the crystal caves of Sirion, the collective's greatest minds gathered in emergency session. The energy beings had taken physical crystal forms to better interface with solid matter, but their technology was failing without human innovation. Resonance Prime, Cathfol's crystalline structure flickered with distressed harmonics. The quantum resonance networks that maintain our physical forms are destabilizing. Human researchers were developing stabilization protocols that would have allowed us to maintain coherent forms indefinitely. The assembled crystal beings hummed in harmonic distress. Without stable physical forms, they would be forced to return to pure energy states, unable to interact with the material universe. Their civilization's dreams of expansion beyond their home dimension would die. What of the research data the humans left behind? Incomplete. They removed all the critical breakthrough research before departing. We have their preliminary studies, but not the innovative leaps that made the technology practical. Economic catastrophe. Trade Minister Silthra of the Serpentine Collective reviewed the economic reports with growing horror. The elegant mathematical projections that had once predicted centuries of prosperity now showed nothing but collapse. Galactic trade volume has dropped by 68%, she hissed to her emergency council. Human shipping companies carried the majority of cargo between star systems. Their logistical networks connected every major trade route. The Serpentine beings had been master traders for millennia, but they had gradually allowed humans to handle the complex logistics of interstellar commerce. Human companies had developed routing algorithms, managed supply chains, and coordinated the movement of goods across thousands of light years with an efficiency that aliens had never quite understood. Alternative shipping providers. The Vorthak commercial fleet has increased their operations by 15%, but they lack the route optimization capabilities. Transit times have tripled, and cargo losses are approaching 20%. Silthra's scales rippled with agitation. The hegemony's military transports could supplement civilian shipping, but their fleet is grounded with technical failures. The galaxy's entire economic structure had been built on the assumption that human logistics would always be available. Without them, trade networks that had operated smoothly for centuries were grinding to a halt. The desperate plea. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered for the most humiliating session in their history. The same aliens who had dismissed human concerns and dictated terms were now forced to confront their complete dependence on the species they had taken for granted. Council Prime Zarthol called the emergency session to order, his voice lacking its usual authoritative resonance. We must address the human crisis. Our civilizations face systemic collapse without their participation. High Chancellor Morgeth's metallic segments scraped against the floor as he spoke. My military advisors estimate that the hegemony fleet will be completely inoperative within 4 months. Our shipyards cannot function without human technical expertise. Trade Minister Silthra added her voice to the chorus of despair. Economic projections show complete commercial collapse within 6 months. The trade networks that connect our civilizations are disintegrating. The Luminar Collective's representative, Energy Prime Fluxera, flickered with unstable patterns. Our research into physical form stabilization has ceased. Without human innovation, our people face return to pure energy states within the year. One by one, the alien leaders catalog the disasters befalling their civilizations. Medical systems failing, industrial production grinding to a halt, infrastructure collapsing, research programs abandoned. Every aspect of galactic society had been touched by human involvement, and now that involvement was gone. The shocking realization. Councillor Vex Harry of the Serpentine Collective raised the question that no one wanted to ask. How did we become so dependent on them? Humans have been part of galactic society for only 2 centuries. How did they become so essential? The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Dr. Kethnal of the Vorthek Medical Council provided the answer that everyone feared. They didn't just participate in our civilization. They improved it. Every system they touched became more efficient, more innovative, more capable. We assumed their contributions were minor optimizations. Human space. Sarah nodded. Any last-minute communications from the Council? They're flooding all channels with demands to return to negotiations, offering concessions, territorial guarantees, increased trade quotas. Harrison's weathered face showed a grim smile. Too little, too late. Sarah watched the stars wheel around them as the fleet prepared for the jump to faster-than-light travel. They never understood us, Admiral. They saw us as junior partners, useful servants who could be pushed around at will. They forgot that we chose to cooperate. They forgot that we could choose to stop. The fleet jumped, leaving the alien civilizations to face their first crisis without human help. In human space, preparations were already underway for the challenges ahead. Humanity would stand alone, but they would stand strong. Behind them, the galaxy began to shake apart. The collapse begins. 30 days later, the cracks show. Council Prime Zarthol stood in the emergency command center on Nexus Station, his compound eyes scanning dozens of status displays that flashed increasingly urgent warnings. The magnificent station that had once been the crown jewel of galactic cooperation was falling apart, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Report on the atmospheric processors. He clicked to his aide, a nervous young chitinous named Vectar. Primary systems are failing, Council Prime. The humans designed the air recycling networks, and we don't have the technical documentation to repair them. 3 sectors are already on emergency atmospheric reserves. Zarthol's mandibles clattered with frustration. In 30 days, the reality of human withdrawal had become a nightmare beyond imagination. The systems that kept the station habitable had been maintained by a small team of human engineers who worked quietly in the background. Everyone had assumed the technology was simple enough that any species could manage it. They were wrong. What about the jump gate network? Vectar's kitten held to a sickly gray color. 17 gates have gone offline in the past week. The quantum synchronization protocols require constant adjustment, and the mathematical models. He paused, mandibles trembling. The humans never shared the complete equations. We have partial data, but without their intuitive problem-solving methods, we cannot maintain proper calibration. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on 1,000 worlds. The hegemony's pride falls. High Chancellor Morgeth stood in the ruins of his civilization's greatest achievement. The orbital shipyard above Hegemony Prime had been constructing the largest dreadnought in galactic history, a vessel designed to cement the hegemony's military dominance for centuries to come. Now it hung in space like a dead whale, half-completed and impossible to finish. The quantum forge systems have completely shut down, reported Chief Technician Lorvac, his metallic segments dulled with stress. Without human oversight, we cannot maintain the particle stream alignments necessary for hull plating synthesis. Morgeth's rage had burned itself out weeks ago, replaced by cold fear. How long until our existing fleet begins to fail? The newest vessels have perhaps 6 months before critical systems failures cascade. The older ships. Lorvac paused. Some are already experiencing power core instabilities. We estimate 40% of the fleet will be grounded within 90 days. The hegemony had ruled through military might for over 1,000 years. Their weapons were the most feared in the galaxy, their ships the most advanced. But all of it had depended on human innovation and maintenance. The aliens had provided the materials and the factories, but the humans had provided the knowledge that made it all work. Medical crisis on Vorthek Prime. Dr. Silneth floated in his methane-rich medical chamber, studying the cascade of failures plaguing the Vorthek medical system. The gaseous beings had relied on human researchers to develop treatments for their unique physiology, creating a medical infrastructure that now crumbled without human expertise. The regeneration chambers are failing one by one, his assistant Morden reported, his voice a whisper of gas through the communication system. We cannot synthesize the cellular catalysts without the human-designed bioprocessors. The irony was bitter. The Vorthek had some of the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy, capable of treating dozens of different species. But the technology had been developed through human-alien collaboration, with humans providing the creative leaps and innovative thinking that solved seemingly impossible biological puzzles. How many patients are at risk? Approximately 400,000 across all medical facilities. The regeneration therapy failure rate has increased to 37% without human technical support. We're wrong. The truth was undeniable. Humans hadn't just been useful junior partners in galactic society. They had been the driving force behind most of the technological and social progress of the past 2 centuries. Their unique combination of creativity, adaptability, and determination had pushed alien civilizations to heights they never could have reached alone. They were the glue that held everything together, Admiral Klickstar admitted, his mandibles clicking with defeat. We thought we were the dominant partners, but we were wrong. They were quietly keeping our entire civilization running. The price of arrogance. As the emergency session continued, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Agricultural worlds were failing without human farming expertise. Industrial centers sat idle without human engineering support. Research facilities had abandoned projects that only human scientists understood. Military fleets were grounded with technical failures that only human technicians could fix. The aliens had spent centuries congratulating themselves on their advanced civilizations, never realizing that much of their advancement depended on human innovation and support. They had treated humans as useful servants while benefiting from human genius. Council Prime Zarthal stood before the assembled alien leaders, his compound eyes reflecting the harsh reality they all faced. We have made a grave error. We assumed that power came from military strength and political authority. We never understood that true power comes from being indispensable. The chamber buzzed with desperate conversations as alien species that had been enemies for millennia now faced the same crisis. Without human participation, their mighty civilizations were revealed to be hollow shells, dependent on the very species they had dismissed and controlled. High Chancellor Morgeth spoke the words that everyone was thinking. We need them back. Whatever it takes, whatever we have to offer, whatever we have to promise. We need the humans back. But as the alien leaders began planning their desperate diplomatic mission to human space, they faced a chilling reality. Their fleets were grounded, their communication networks were failing, and their economies were collapsing. They had spent so long taking human cooperation for granted that they had no idea how to function without it. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations had learned they were powerless without the humans they had pushed too far. The question now was whether humanity would even listen to their pleas, or if the bridges had been burned beyond repair. In human space, the colonies were thriving under their own direction for the first time in decades. They had discovered something the aliens never understood. Humans were far stronger when they stood together, united by purpose and free from alien control. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you underestimated humanity's strength and independence. The lesson would be painful, and it might already be too late.